All right, guys, do you hear me? All right, you guys can hear me. Just let me know, please. Yes, great. Wonderful. Awesome. So people will start coming slow and slow, but we're going to start already because just 2 hours, right? It's not a lot. An Angular training usually takes around 4 days for uh, an overall of the whole framework, right? Um, Today we'll just do a very, very simple quiz app, right? Just maybe popping one question and according of the answer, we select display if it's right or wrong, right? And if we have time, maybe trying to have like a few questions that will be browsed according to the answer we put on the quiz, right? So very quickly, before we start, we'll start very, very soon. What we are 3 level. We just do IT training. So basically, I'm a software engineering trainer, right? So I deliver training pretty much in many, many places, India, Hong Kong, could be Singapore as well. I'm based in Thailand, actually. Um, but yeah, we started to create our own company, uh, so we don't go through the middle person, right? That's what we try to do. So you have all information here. The PDF will be provided as well. There is like a few information about Angular as well, and we will provide you as well the source code of the whole application that we're going to develop during those 2 hours, right? So welcome to any of you. The goal is to create this app, so you need to have Node.js installed, and of course maybe VS Code or Angular. Sorry, VS Code or IntelliJ if you're using IntelliJ, WebStorm if you are using the free version of IntelliJ as well, right? So very simple talking about Angular, right? So wherever you have done some React, Vue.js, or just some plain HTML, JavaScript is fine. It's completely enough. We start with the basics of Angular, right? And welcome to, okay, welcome to Chris. Yeah, so basically, up, what is Angular? So some of you, as I mentioned, probably use some React or other framework. This is a framework, right? It allows you to create web app in a very, very simple way. And Angular is using a main language called TypeScript, right? So we'll not go through the big details of TypeScript today because we don't really have time for this. But you will understand how it is. This is a oriented object-oriented language, right? And we say that Angular is also using ES5 or 6. So what is ES5 or ES6? Well, this is the JavaScript version that you're using called ECMAScript. And we can write it as ES. Right, so you type some TypeScript, but you can also type some JavaScript inside your TypeScript code because at the end TypeScript is transpiled into JavaScript, right? No browser can read some TypeScript. It's just here to be converted into JavaScript at the end, right? So we will do, of course, obviously some TypeScript with Angular here, right? So we say it's a complete framework because it includes all the bricks you need, right? The router, request, you can do some HTTP queries, you can manage your form, doing some internationalization as well. Everything is already included within the framework, which is not necessarily the case with React or Vue. For instance, in React, if you want to do some HTTP query, we usually use Axios, for instance, which is an outside library. Here, everything is already present with the framework. But of course, you can use whatever you want, but usually it's a good practice to use what is provided because then everybody who works on Angular will use exactly the same tools, right? And we say that it's modular as well because it's got in sub packages, right? core, router, HTTP. You can import the one that you want. And at the end, of course, the bundle size, the final product will depend on the size of what you're using or what you're not using, right? No, Fast framework on the market, obviously, it's one of the most famous, most used framework with React and Vue. For now, may change, it's still changing fast. And we have what we call a component approach, right? So one component we say is the basic brick of an Angular application. And we're going to code in one of those components, actually, right? The main component that Angular is providing. So what do we need to use Angular? Obviously, you need a web browser. Okay, you need to see what you're coding, like what's happening once you're doing your code. So you can use Firefox or Chrome. You can use Opera as well, whatever you want. You need Node.js. Okay, so it has to be installed as I sent to you on the group, the meetup group. You can install it going here, node.js.com, and download it and installing it. It's pretty fast, pretty easy to install. And then you need an IDE, right? Something to code with. So you can use WebStorm, which is the 30-day free version of IntelliJ, or VS Code, which is completely free, very popular. If you use VS Code, you need some plugin. One is called Angular Essential from John Papa. I'm going to show you very quickly this one. And of course, you need internet connection because, yeah, you will download everything from abroad, right? Great, so we're here. And so you want to check that Node is installed. What you can do is to type this command, right? As soon as you have the terminal here, for you, it's possible to type node-v. You can see that a version should appear, right? If you do this, it means that you're ready to do some Angular. If you don't have this, well, you need to install Node.js, right? Node will install a package called NPM. NPM stands for Node Package Manager. It will allow you to download all the dependencies that your Angular application is required, right? So you can do the same in npm-v, and you can have those versions written here, right? So as soon as you install Node, you will have those two tools available, right? And that's it. Great, so once again, now we need to install Angular, right? So for this, you need another tool. So basically, we are using Node, right? You see Node, NPM will be here to install your dependencies. And then the dependency that I'm going to install is this one, the CLI, right? So CLI stands for Command Line Interface, right? So npm install-j at Angular CLI will install a new tool that will allow me to have Angular present on my
recording in progress.
Cut the sound. Great. So by doing this, I'm going to have a new tool. So I'm going to type this command straight away. You can use your terminal. I really recommend you to not use PowerShell. Use Git Bash, use any of the terminals than PowerShell, because PowerShell, you need to disable a security issue that you can find in the documentation, right? So let's try not to use PowerShell. That's really a good advice I have for you. If you use PowerShell, you will need to type a certain command, right? So if I type PowerShell Angular CLI, it will tell you that you may have a little, it doesn't work. So actually, if you go on angular.dev here, installation of Angular. So this is the new website of Angular, angular.dev. It will tell you somewhere, it's probably not on this documentation here, that you need to have another command. Maybe I will have it here. Yeah, see, this is definitely the error that you will get with PowerShell when you will try to create your comments. So you need to run exactly this one here. See, that's one of the things to make in PowerShell if you want this to work. I can copy paste it in the chat if you want to use PowerShell. But again, don't bother, don't make things complicated for you. Just use, Git Bash if you're on Windows, if you're on Linux or Mac, just a normal terminal, and it's completely fine, right? So we are here, and I'm going to install Angular. So we said we need to do npm install, right? And we have the -j. So -j here is here to say globally. It means that the command to run to create an Angular application will be available anywhere. I can be on this folder, I can be on my root folder or any folder. The command to install Angular will be available anywhere. So it's very important that you put the -J key here, okay? So -J, and I'm going to put at Angular. Oops, it's better like this. Let me try it again. Angular / CLI. Okay, that's the command that you need to type. So once I do this, you will then install some stuff. Okay. So you always take time. npm is using dependency. So you can type this command as well. It's very slow. Don't know why. It's always when you record and deliver training that it happened. Oh no, there it was. Okay, great. So what is it? For me, it's written change, right? But for you, you probably have added 273 or whatever package. Once you have done this, it means that you will have a new command available. Okay, this command is ng. Everything about Angular is called nj, right? nj. So if I do nj space version, you should be able, after this has been executed, so you need this first command to be executed and work to have this guy working. So ng version, I press enter, and then you should have these things written on your screen telling you that we have the version 19.2.4 of Angular installed, right? So we have done npm install -j at Angular CLI. Okay, I just typed it as well in the chat. Once we have done this, you're supposed to have this guy written here, okay? All right, I'll do it for you guys. Great. Okay, great. So now we have this. That's wonderful. So what do we want to do now with this? We want to create our project, right? We don't create a simple file or whatever. We need a folder with full architecture inside, which define what Angular is, right? So we have a tool. This tool is doing only one thing. It's creating those files and those architecture. That's the only thing it does. Then after is running npm install to install all the dependencies that Angular is required, right? Angular needs a lot of dependencies. And if you guys have done some meetup, I'm sorry, some front-end coding in the past with npm, you know that we have a node module folder. And it's pretty heavy, right? Have lots of things inside. So yeah, Angular is the same. We have many things that we can have with Angular, a lot of dependencies. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to create this first Angular project by running the command ng new, right? So I can do ng, right? If I'm here in my terminal, you just need to remember in which folder you are, right? You need to be on a specific folder, okay? And because in this folder you will create the architecture of your project, right? So I'm going to do ng new. Okay, so ng space new, so ng for Angular. This is the CLI we just have installed here, this guy here. Okay, and I'm going to put the name of the project. So simple Quizz App, just like this. Okay, I'll try and see what's going on. So it's prompting me what CSS style I want to use. Okay, I'm not going to dive into what is the difference between the three of them. For us, we'll just do basic CSS. So you can choose the first option, keep it how it is, like this. You just press enter once. And then if I ask me if I want to enable what we call SSR, which is called server-side rendering, right? I'm going to mute here. Okay. So this, you can see here, we have those information here. Y and N, right? Yes and no. Well, basically you have one which is in uppercase. When it's uppercase, it means that if you just press enter without saying anything, it will use this as a value. So it will be an N uppercase. So that's perfect. That's what we want. We don't want to use pre-rendering because it's for other usage. Okay, it's not for when we start learning Angular, right? So we're just saying no. So either you press N and press enter, or just put nothing and just press N. And you can see we have no here, right? Great. So what's happening then? We can see that he's creating a lot of files, right? All those files are basically your Angular app. Yeah, we have many, many things that we can't cover today, obviously, right? But you will see that among all those files that we can see here, just a few are interesting for us, right? So we'll see that just after. So what is happening here? He created this tree of files and folder, right? And now he's doing installing package with npm. Okay, so we need to wait a bit because, as we mentioned, right, Angular require a lot of libraries to make it work. It doesn't mean that when your project is over, all those libraries will be present in your app. Obviously no, because here it's probably downloading 250 megabytes of library just for Angular to work. Of course, when you have your bundle ready, when your app is over, it will not take all of this. It will just use what it needs, right? Among those libraries, you have many libraries to compile TypeScript into JavaScript, to bundle them, many libraries that you may not use as well, because it depends on what you're doing as well with your app, right? But overall, at the end, you have a normal bundle size that is just maybe 1 or 2 megabytes according of what you're doing. Can be more, of course, the more library you had and the more seeds you have. So it takes already a bit of time like this. Okay, so let's wait for this one to be installed. So that's what we have done. npm install -j at Angular CLI, new simple quiz app to create our app. There is also the possibility, if you want to install an older version of Angular, to use npx here. -p, we just say which version we want here, and new here to have your projects, right? Right, it's pretty slow. That should come soon. It always takes a little bit of time. It's pretty normal. Again, remember we have like 200 something ish megabytes. Okay, great. So we have created new simple quiz app, right? So now let's have a look what we have in this folder. If I do ls to see the content of my folder, we can see we have this folder, right? Simple quiz app. That's awesome. That's what we want. It means it created my application. So keep in mind that each time you do new and the name of the folder, it will create everything inside of this folder, right? So if we go there, simple quiz app, and we do a ls, we can find, or l, we can see all the file that he have created for us, right? So right now, that's it. We just have those files. Now we want to open those files and to start to edit them, okay? So if you're using VS Code or IntelliJ, I mean WebStorm, preferably, or whatever, you need to open this folder with your editor, right? Whatever you're using. There is a shortcut when you're using VS Code, is to type code and dot. By doing this, you will open VS Code inside of it, with the content of VS Code having this folder here, which is pretty cool. So if I do code dot here and press enter, okay, we have VS Code that is running here, and we can see that I have all my files here, right? So that's an option. You can also open VS Code, do file, open folder, and open the folder that just has been created, etc. So it's really up to you. There is no difference as soon as your package is your folder is open here, right? Great. So now we are here. Remember, I told you that with VS Code, it's always interesting to have extension, all right, for Angular. So this one is called Angular Essential, something like this, Essential. And you can see we have this guy, John Papa here, having Angular Essential. So you can install this, this folder here, copy link, this plugin. I'm going to put it in the chat as well, if you want it. So as soon as you have this, you'll just have some tools to help you, VS Code actually to understand that you work with Angular. Okay, so pretty simple. You go there, extension is there, install, and there you go. Perfect. Okay, great. So now what we want to do is actually to to run our application, because our application is there and it's already working. We can run it, right? We just generated it. And while we generated it, Angular creates something that already worked. But right now it's not working, obviously. So how to run it? Okay. There is multiple way according of what you're using. If you're using VS Code or IntelliJ, right? You always have like some place where you can run a server, etc. But when we start learning a framework or any tool, it's always more interesting to start learning how things work with a terminal, right? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on my terminal here. I'm going to do new terminal here. Okay, so it's opening my terminal here. Great. It is in the right folder. And I'm going to run my app. So to run this app, you just need to type ng, as we did for ng-new, right? ng, and you can type serve, just like this. So let's try this, ng serve. Okay, he asked me if I want to send Google some information. By default is a no. I press enter. Great. Now it's working. You can see that it works in localhost 4,200 here, right? So let's try. I'm going to go on this one here. Okay. There we go. We have our application working here. Simple quiz app with just like logo and documentation, etc., etc. We're going to remove all of this very soon because that's not what we want to have, right? Okay. All good for you? Seems like no question. Great. So it's always on the port 4,200 by default. Of course, you can change it. This is more useful if you have multiple instances to change it. But right now we'll keep this one, right? So great. So we have this one, and now we're going to talk about like, all the files that you have created here. Okay. So by default, you have this guy here, the tsconfig here. It's related to TypeScript. Okay, it's not really for us. This is really linked to how TypeScript is working. Okay, this is more regarding a language, not about a framework. So we're not going into not going deep into this one. And actually, we don't really need to modify those files that much, right? Readme.md is just the information about your project. Package.json is all the dependencies that you have. You can see that we have all the Angular dependencies here. Okay, then we have this file, maybe interesting, Angular.json, not in our level, but that's here that you can give like more CSS or more JavaScript file, for instance. It just tells you, like, I also give you like some warning when the bundle at the end is too heavy, etc., etc. Okay, so it's more in a later when we start to build our app that this file come interesting, right? So that's it. So here, basically, the only file that interests us as an Angular developer is really the Angular.json file here, right? Then we have some hidden file, Angular VS Code, doesn't matter. Node module, well, this one is big. It's all the dependencies that you have downloaded when you install, when you was browsing, right? You download all those dependencies here in the Node module. Then you have a public folder. Public, you basically will put everything public, fonts, picture, video, MP3 if you have, etc., etc. But what is the most important for us is this folder, the src folder. Okay, So what do we have in an SRC folder? We have style.css. I think you know what is this one, to put any style that will be global to our app. We have main.ts. This one, we don't touch it. Usually we don't touch this one. It's just to say, okay, the application starts on a specific component with this specific configuration. It's not for us now, so we're not going to modify this one. We have the index.html. Okay, I'm going to open it because we're going to have a look at it just after. And then we have this app folder. Okay, in this app folder, it can be quite confusing at the beginning because we have many files, right? But just keep in mind that this file plus this file, okay, are basically here because you created a new project. This is the configuration of your whole application. You don't have any other app config in the app. This is the only one. Okay, and the root is when we will have some root, like when we do some navigation. Okay, that's not something we will do in our level right now. Okay, so what is important for us is remaining those 4 files here. Okay, among those 4 files here, there is one more that is quite useless to us for now, is this one. This one is the unit test. Obviously, we're not learning how to do a unit test with Angular right now. So we can also remove it. If you remove it, you will have absolutely no impact. So left for us 3 files. Okay, app component.ts, app component.html, and app component.css. So for us, the 4 files that is important to us are the 3 here. Index.html, and then those app components, because the app component is actually a real component, right? So let's have a look at the index.html, and we can see something here, right? We can see that we have really all the basics elements that we have on HTML page, right? But you can see as well this guy, app-root. What does it mean? What does app root mean? Well, app, we can have an idea, right? App, we're like, hey, it's called app. We have an app folder here. Maybe there is a link. Well, yeah, you're right. There is a link. But let's go further. Why it's called -root? Okay, see, when you have an Angular component, you have a TypeScript file, which is this one here. And this TypeScript file says, hey, I need to work a HTML file and a CSS file, right? So if we have a look at this TypeScript file right now, we can see a few interesting things, okay? We can see that in the component annotation here, we have template URL and style URL, right? Those 2 elements are just those 2 files. We just say, hey, I'm a component and I need those 2 files to work. That's what we're saying here. But we have something more interesting here, which is the selector. Okay, so basically, app-root is exactly what you can see in your index.html here, right? So what I'm going to do is to modify maybe here. Okay, I'm going to put this one maybe here. Okay, I'm going to put them close to each other. All right, so I'm going to modify and say app hello. Okay, and save. Okay, we can see that my page have reloaded, but now if I'm going back on my app, we can see that nothing works anymore. So always when you work with a front-end framework, React, or even anything you do on the web, you always work with the console open here. Okay, console open is F12, or right-click and inspect works as well, and you can go on console here, right? And then I have this error. He's telling me here, the selector app hello did not match any element. He's like, yeah, it's thank you, but I have no idea what is this app hello stuff, right? Okay, so pretty simple. We can go back here, and if I want it to work, I can change this guy and put it here, right? App hello, save. Go back, Microsoft, not today. Go back here, and you can see my app is working again, right? And actually, if we check in the inspector, we will go in body here, we can see app hello here, right? Inside app hello, we have some code. We're going to see what this code is representing, right? Okay, so I'm going to put it back how it have to be, because app hello, when you have it's not really common. All the component will be called something root at the beginning. Great, so we're having this. okay, app root. But what this app root represents? We understood that we have the selector, but now we want to understand what is the content of this app root element, right? So for this, we can go check those two files, right? So app component.html and app component.css. So CSS have nothing. Okay, we'll understand very quickly why. But our app component here is pretty huge. We have many, many things. And actually everything we have here is like it's way too much, right? Why is it like this? Why they didn't put actually the CSS inside of the CSS instead of putting everything in HTML? Well, for the simple reason that they know that you will remove everything here, okay? Because your app will not be like this, obviously, right? You want your app to be as you want to build it, right? So they're like, okay, we just put everything here so you can remove everything, right? So let's have a look. We can see we have those commands. Go down, go down, go down, go down, and we can see that as well. You can remove this and keep this guy. But we can also remove this one because in our case, we'll not have any router, right? So I'm going to remove the content of app component.html, right? I remove everything, and I'm going to put a h1 tag. Let's say hello everyone, like this. Okay, and save. Okay, so I can see a warning here. We're going to figure out why we have this, but if I go back on my page, I can see that my page is just displaying hello everyone here, right? Which is great for us. Okay, good. So now we have this weird warning. Okay, some people who are very used to work with front end, you have a comment saying that say the warning is not very important, right? Okay, but let's try to remove them still, at least, right? So we have this warning that say, yeah, you're using this router outlets, but it's not there. Remember, just before we have this code here, we have this weird router outlet here. It's not for us, we're not using any router. So since we are not using this tag, we can remove it as we're here. So I'm going to remove this again, put it back how it was. Okay, and remove the import. So you can completely remove this line completely because we're not going to use it. Okay, and remove the import here because we're not using it as well. Okay, great. So perfect. Let's have a look now. Here, I don't have any warning, and my page still working in a console. I don't have any error, so everything seems okay for me. Perfect. Okay, let's move on. All right. Great. So, hello everyone. Great. So what I'm going to do very quickly is to change a little bit the CSS so we have everything centered in our page and make our page a little bit more appealing, right? So I'm going to copy paste the CSS as well into the chat if you want it. It's very few lines, but I don't want to code them one by one because it takes too long. But basically, I'm just saying that the body, you want a specific background, you want everything centered, you want a new font family and to increase the size of the text. That's the only thing I'm saying. Okay, I'm saying the body tag in my style CSS. So basically, the body tag that we have here. Okay, we apply a certain element. Everything is centered, right? You have seen as well one cool thing. If you have never done some front-end development, you don't need to refresh your page. It's automatically refreshing each time you do a modification, right? So that's pretty convenient. You can work with two screens and modify, and it will be displayed automatically on your page. So you all do this, React, Vue, it's good. It's a good feature. So we have this. That's great. Now what we want to do is to understand the content of this here, right? We have a title here, but to be honest, if I remove this and save, it's still working, right? It's still working. Well, those things here is just to say, okay, I'm giving you a variable that I call title. You do whatever you want with this one. Great. So maybe we are in app components. So I'm going back in my HTML. Maybe I can actually modify and say, or maybe I will just display it here actually. Okay, I'm going to display it here. This guy here, I want to have this, the content of this variable displayed here, right? So I can do this. I'm going to remove this content here. and put this. Of course, if I type just title, you have nothing, or just what will be displayed is title, not what you want, right? So I want this variable. So we use what we call an interpolation. So the interpolation is saying, doing this and this. Yeah, and you can see that if I control click on this, it leads me to this guy here, right? So by doing this, I'm saying, okay, this will display the content of this variable here. Right, let's have a look. Perfect. So you can see now my variable has some code and we displayed it on the right side. Great. So maybe instead of having this weird name, we can say simple is app like this. Save, and obviously this is reloaded automatically, right? Great, so perfect. We have our first variable. Okay, we can imagine as well having something else. Maybe you want to have at the end your copyright, copyright, and you want to put the date, the year. What is the year of today automatically, right? Instead of typing 2025, you want automatically to have the current year, right? So you can imagine doing this simply by creating a new variable. So you can imagine having the variable year, and you can instantiate a new JavaScript date. So this is JavaScript, it's not even TypeScript. New date dot get, I think it's full year, get full year like this, okay? Great, so we have year, and I can copyright, and I can say year like this. Right, I save, I can see that I don't have any error. Once you see this, everything is fine. Of course, it will show you all the previous errors. So just keep in mind that this means that it's fine at the end. Okay, so let's have a look here. All right, perfect. Perfect. So now for now we're good. Okay, normally it's at the middle of the under at the end of the page, right? But we're not going to bother with that. Why not? Okay, great. So we have then our copyright, our first interpolation from one way to another way, right? Great. But we say we want to do a quiz. Okay, so the quiz, we need to have a few data for a quiz, right? So what a quiz will have? A quiz will have, oops, I think I have this shortcut here. Oops. A quiz will have first, what do we have? We have a question, obviously. So a question will be what? That will be a string, right? It's just a string. We can have like some potential answers. So an answer will be what? There will be an array, right? There will be an array with different possibilities, okay? And we can have as well in our object, what is the correct answer? Okay, correct answer. And this one can be either one of the answer, or what I'm going to use is correct answer. I'm going to write it like this, index. I'm just saying which index in my array will be the correct answer. Yeah. So let's say that the question is, what is the sum of 4 plus 4? The answer can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, right? So I can say that either you go from an array, right, a classic array, JavaScript array starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, or you go in a more logical way, the way we think, starting by 1, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can do this way, okay? Let's say it's really in the human way, so you can read this, even if you're not really a developer, you can understand what's going on. So 0, 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. So I'm having this. So the correct answer index will be this one. So I can say here there will be 4. Okay, that's how my object will look like. I need to create an object for that. Okay, so we can do things pretty much using a specific keyword called any, saying that, hey, you can have any type, but it's not really appropriate when you use TypeScript. We want to use typing. It's called TypeScript, actually, the language. It's really about types, right? So we need to use types. So I'm going to create something that look like this design here. Okay. So where do you put those kind of class? Okay. I'm going to put it in a folder in my app, in a new folder called model. Okay, this is a convention. This is something very popular. So model and ODEL. And inside this model folder, I'm going to create a new file that will be my interface. I'm going to call it question dash answer dot model dot ts. Okay, so right now it's just a TypeScript file with a TS, but there is nothing inside. Okay, I don't know what is your background, but if you come from a Java background, for instance, or even some .NET or whatever, we use interfaces, right? Just to create some signature, method signature that we will define during the implementation, right? In TypeScript, it's a bit different. You can use interfaces as a contract regarding the data as well. So my interface here will just be a type. Okay, there is two ways to do it in TypeScript using interfaces and types, but you will see the interface more often with Angular than the type. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to do an export interface, and I'm going to write it like this. So question answer, like this. I'm going to use the different type that I have defined, right? So the first type that we have remember, we say we have a question. Okay, the question will be a string. So I have to define my type here. Okay, the answers will be an array. Okay, but the thing is that here I'm saying answers will be an empty array. It's not really what I want. I want to say the answer will be an array of any type, because I can have answer of type number 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can also put strings, I can put whatever I want, right? So I'm going to say it can be any type here, okay? If we want to be more specific, we can restrict the answer to be only strings by typing string here, but you can use it number or whatever. So for now, to make it simple, we'll just keep it as any here. Okay, and we say that we have a correct answer index. Okay, and the correct answer index will be a number. Okay, something like this. So we have defined our interfaces. The export keyword is very important. If you don't use it, if you just put interface, it's compiling, it works, but you will not be able to use your interface in our class, which is a problem. We want to use it in our class, right? Great, so I'm going to go back on my component here, right? And I'm going to create a first question, right? I'm going to show you how to define an object. So let's create our first question here. I'm going to say question. I'm going to say question answer because it makes everything, right? Equal, and I can define an object here. The thing is that we are using TypeScript. You see here the title. When we did title equal simple Quizz App, we know that title will be a string. How do we know? Because we put in a string. You can't later on say that, like in a method, to say that title is equal to 20. You will not be able to do this, right? I will not be able here. I need to put it in a method, like a constructor, for instance. Okay, constructor. Yeah. So if I do like a this dot title equal to, he's not happy because like, hey, no, sorry, it's a string. You can't put a number, right? Great. The thing is that question answer, if I don't define any type, right, it will be of type object, but we don't really know the content of this object. So I can say the question answer here will be definitely the object that we have created here, right? And now he's not happy. Why he's not happy? Because, well, he has to be this object, right? And this object required to have all those properties here. Yeah. So I'm going to put my first element here. So question, and I'm going to write what is the question here. So remember, we say what is the sum of 4 plus 4, right? Great. Then just a set of answers, possible answers, right? So array, is it 2? Is it 4, 6, 8, 9? And see, if I do control space, it just gives me like all the items. That's why it's good to have types as well. You can know what are the element that you want. So we say 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Or 3. It depends if you want to start with 0 or 1. 3 depends on you, right? In here, I start at 1. Why not? Yeah. Okay, now let's do it. Let's do it the real way. Okay, let's start with 0 because I mean we're a developer. We start already with a 0. Okay, great. So I'm having this. Perfect. I'm going to remove this constructor. That was just to illustrate. So great, I have this now. I'm having my question answer here. I'm having the title and the year here. And I want to display them inside of my my component. I want to display this question, right? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is to create some div, okay, some structure, okay, a little bit. So there is a thing that's called emmet that simplify a lot when you want to code. If I want to create a div that have a class called question dash answer, see, I can do this, div dot question answer, right? And at the end, it just generates the div with the right class here. So this is a cool thing that you can use. Go faster, question dash answer, and you have your div here. Okay, great. So we're here. First thing we want to display is the question, obviously, right? So we're going to do a h2, and I'm going to display my question. So the same way we did title here, I can use this variable here. So open my bracket here, doing this, question answer, dot, and I can decide which property I want to display. Since they are all available, you just access to them with the dots, like in many languages. So I'm going to display the question here. You can see that I put it in the wrong place. So okay. Great. Going to save. Everything is compiling. Going back there. Okay, perfect. So far, the question is well displayed, which is great. Perfect. Okay, the thing is that now what we want to do is to display all the possible answers, right? So for that, we need to do a loop. Okay, so with Angular, since I think it's version 16, we're on the version 19, we have a new way to loop that is more straightforward. Before, you need to use what we call a directive. Now we use directly at 4 here, at 4 to do your loop. So what do I want to do? So for answer is just a variable that I create. You can put whatever you want here, doesn't matter, but that's where each element will go in my for loop, right? For answer, okay, off. And then I'm going to go getting this guy here. So of my question answer dot answers. So, okay, let's do this. Now it's not happy because it's a new thing. Before it wasn't mandatory, but since the recent version of Angular, we have 2. We need to add something called track. So I'm going to put this, and I'm going to explain very quickly what is this track here, and I can have track index. Okay, so what does it mean? First thing, let me just display the answer to see if it works. Okay, I'm just going to put it in a li. Okay, we need to have a UL first. Okay, UL li is just HTML tag, and I'm going to put in here answer like this. Great. Let's have a look here. Great. So we can see that we have all the possible answers displayed, but we have to add this weird. Oops, sorry. This weird track here, right? So what is this? Well, this is related to rendering, okay? we can't obviously go, dive in how the rendering is working with Angular, but keep in mind that putting this index here will allow Angular to render this piece of code only if a new index is coming, right? It means that if you add something inside of this answer list, right, it will render only the new one. It will not re-render the whole list, which is interesting in terms of performances, right? But this is something we see after, right, later. But for now, we have our answer, which is great. So what I'm going to do is maybe to write something more, more logical. So I am in a LI, and I'm going to put the answer like this, and I can use as well the index here. Index is a variable that is available. Okay, I'm going to say this, and maybe I can put a b tag just to make the real answer bold, right? Let's have a look. Great, perfect. So I'm having all those possibilities here, which is great. So it works. I'm having my for, my li, and everything. Great. Okay, I'm just going to put this one here. Okay, for you if you need it. So basically what we have modified the app component, .ts. We have modified the app component HTML here, and we have created the question answer model.ts that is in the model folder here, right? That's what we have done so far. Okay, is there any question from you guys before we continue? I'll give you like 2-3 minutes to do this. Okay. Okay, so just keep in mind that you have one terminal open here with your server. Control-C to quit if you require to quit the server that is running. ng-serve here, again, to run it again. If you already have run the server and you open another terminal here and do an ng-serve like this, yeah, it will tell you that, yeah, you can't. Okay, port is already used, you want to use another one. So it'll just basically create your server with a random port as well, right? That's not what we want. Close this one, close this terminal here. And keep this one. Okay. All right, do you need more time or should we move on? Okay. All right, let's move on. Great. So now we have those guy here, but what we want is to display if the user is clicking on the right element, right? So what do we have here? Basically, we are just having a bunch of answers here, but there is absolutely no interaction, right? So we're going to modify this, yeah? So we know what will be the correct answer. The correct answer here will be the answer at the index 3. So that will be 8, 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So we want to be able to click on this guy here, right? And say if we have a good or a bad answer here, right? So let's try this. Okay, I'm just going the same way, right? I'm going to put you, I don't know if I gave it to you, this one. Yeah, I'm going to give you this CSS style here. That's style.css. Oops. And then I'm going to define some CSS as well for our app components.css here. Okay, we want to have a bit of design for those guys here, right? H1 here. I don't need this. Yes, I'm going to maybe give them. So question answer, that's how we call it, right? Question answer, LI. We just had a style, so yeah, it looks like this. Oops, sorry again. This one. So we just say, okay, you don't want to have the dot, a border, a background color, etc., etc. And we want as well maybe to change it when we go over it. Okay, we want to have the hand, you know, so to show you, you can click and change maybe the background color as well. Okay, so if we go here, we can see now that we are having this this effect here. Okay, and I think it's enough for now. We'll add some more later. I'm going to copy paste this for you as well. .css. All right. Okay, great. So now we are here. All right, we are here. Okay. What we want is when I click, I want to retrieve what is the answer of the user, right? So we're going to do this. So basically, we saw right now how to have data from here, right, to be displayed here. That's what we've done, right? We define something, so the communication goes from the TypeScript file to the HTML. But how now do I communicate from the HTML to the TypeScript file? That's what I want. Well, I want, once we click on this, to send something to this guy here. Okay, so what I'm going to have, I want a variable here that will retrieve where the user has clicked. Okay, so I'm going to say here user answer is equal to 0 to start. Or -1. Let's do -1. We started the index as 0, so -1. So -1 in our case means that the user didn't answer. That's how we will take it in our algorithms, basically, right? So the user answer is -1. Right? So what I want to say is that when I click here, I want to give this value, well, the element on which the user has clicked. So for this, we need to use an event. Okay. When you go from this way to this way, we use interpolation. But when we go from this way to this way, we're using events. So how to do this? I'm going to do, you can use it on any HTML tag, right? I'm going to have here a click. Okay, because it's when I click, you have all the elements. You don't use onClick as we will do in pure JavaScript. We are just using click like this. So click, and here you need to have a method. Okay, so I'm going to my app component here, and I'm going to create a method. So we have created object and properties. Now I want to create a method. The method I'm going to create, it's called set user answer. Set user answer. Okay, and I'm going to say that the answer is actually the answer. Oops. Answer index, and this is a number. Okay, you can specify what you want to put in. Okay, set user answer, and what I'm going to say is that, okay, once this method is set, I want this value to go in this value, simply, right? So I'm going to do this dot user answer equal to answer index, like this. And we can also try to do this console log just to be sure that it works. It's always important to log and debug what's going on. Okay, and I can have maybe user have user choice, oops, like this. Okay, answer index. Great. Okay, so I have this, and now you can see it's in an error because it's expecting to have this method. So I'm going to type it, set the user answer, and within the parenthesis, I can give the index here, right? That will make sense. The index is an ID, is an integer is a number, and when I click, I want to pass this value. Okay, now we can try. So let's go back here. We can see that it's compiling here. Oops, it's not the right one, this one, sorry. We can see it's compiling here. Okay, so I can go now here. Great, I'm going to empty there and try to click on this. Okay, user choice 1, user choice 0, user choice 2, etc., etc. So we can see that for now it is working, right? We have the right information passing in this method. Okay, great, perfect. So basically what we want to do now is to display here if the user is right or if the user is wrong, simply, right? So how can we do this? Well, we can use as well some directives here using the if, okay? Yeah, using the if here. So we have the UL, and maybe we'll do a new div here with the answer, right? So what I'm going to do here is to have a div dot answer, maybe I'm going to call it answer. Okay. And inside of this one, I'm going to put some information, right? So the first things I want to put is user answer. We can use a if. We use a for already, so now I'm going to use if. If here, the user answer, so you can have access to this value because it's like the other one, right? So if user answer is equal to question answer yeah, so the question answer, yeah, this one. So user answer is equal to the question answer here dot correct answer index. It means that he clicked on the right way. Yeah. So it means that here we can display maybe a div return. Yeah. That's correct. Something like this, right? So we can have a try on this one. Okay, let's remove this. Nothing is written, nothing. Ah, yeah, perfect. So this one works at least for when we have the right value, which is 8 here, right? Great. Perfect. So we have this one here. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, but you can also put else if it's not correct. At else and saying, sorry, wrong answer, for instance. Something like this. Yeah. Oops, like this. Okay, great. So the problem I have now is that as soon as I go on my web page, I get insulted. It's not really good. It's not very friendly, right? We maybe want to hide this one in case of we haven't answered yet. So for this, it's pretty simple. We know that if we have an answer, the user is -1. Yeah. So we can use another if around this one. But I just want to show you something else we can use. All the div have multiple attributes. There is one attribute called hidden. Okay. Hidden, if I put true or false, it will show or not, right? The thing is that I want inside of this not to put only a string here. I want to put an expression that comes from here, right? So if you want to use variable that come from the template here, you need to use some square brackets here, okay? No worry about this, it will be. So hidden, and this should retrieve, should have true or false, right? So basically, if user answer, oops, if user answer is equal to -1, or equal -1, it will be hidden. Okay, so we can try. You can see that now we don't have any insults, but we'll be insulted if you're wrong, or he will tell us what is the correct answer here. Right. Great. Right, this we'll see later, and the button later. Okay, great. So yeah, that's pretty much it for one single answer here. Guys, if you guys have any question, just let me know. Or something that is not clear, you want more detail, it's fine. Just let me know. All right. Okay, so no questions, so everything is fine. I'm going to, well, just add a lot feature, right? We want to have, instead of having one question, right? We want to have a set of questions and then your next button to go to the next question, if we are right, maybe, right? So I'm going to modify all the code here because now the logic is changing quite a lot, right? Instead of having one object here, we'll have an array of objects with different questions. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. How do I define different question here? We'll need to use an array exactly as we have done previously inside of this object, right? So this time the differences will not have any. We will say that it's an array of this question answer, right? Okay, so let's modify this guy. Of course, here everything will have some error, so we need to do quite a few modifications. Okay, so let's make question answers here. Okay, and I'm going to have an array here. Okay, and it's not happy obviously because this is an array. So I'm going to put this guy here and this guy here as well. Okay, so we have our first question. I'm going to copy paste all of this to have many questions here. All right. So what do we have? We have what is the sun, what is the capital of Japan, etc., etc. And actually, we say we work with the index, so we have to modify. This one will be 2, this one will be 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, and this one will be 1. Right, that's 0, 1. Yep. Okay, great. So now we have this, but obviously here is not happy anymore, of course, because well, you understand why. This is an array now, right? So we need as well to loop around this this array. So question answers, plural now, is an array. Let's loop around this. Okay, so we have those questions. We have many questions. We want to display one question. So basically, what we're going to do is to make an index. We have 3 questions. We want to display the first one. When we click on next, we want to display the second one. When we click on next, again, we want to display the last one. Yeah. So let's try to do this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is to create a new variable here. And I'm going to call this variable maybe active question answer. And since we are in an array, we know that the default one is 0, right? In an array, the first value, sorry, is 0, right? So it means that the first element that will be displayed is this one, right? So active question answer is in. So H2 question answers, I'm going just simply, it's an array to have, actually I'm going to add S to all of them here, this guy and this guy. And I need as well to go get the index of my array, right? So I can use this one, I can use this one, and I can use, sorry, oh, sorry, it's here. Yeah, and here as well. Okay, do we have this one displayed? Perfect. We still have the first one that is displayed, which is great. Okay, that's perfect. So I'm having this. Seems like it's still, the logic is still working, so it's great. But now what we want to do is maybe to go to the other one, right? As soon as we clicked on the correct answer, maybe we create a button. And when we click on this button, we move to the next one. Yeah. Okay, so for this, yeah, that's correct. And I can have here maybe a button. Okay, that says next question. Okay. I'm going to put it just below. Actually, I'm not going to put it inside, I'm going to put it just below. Okay, next question, like this. Okay. And it's the same. You want to have an even. So we understood that we are here because we set the 0. What we want to do is just when we click to change the value to 1. So then it will go on this one, then to change to 2. So I will go to this one, etc., etc., right? So let's try this. I'm going to do a click here. I click next question like this. Okay. And I'm going, of course, to create the method that goes with. All right. So next question. Next question. Here. What do I want to do? Well, we say that we want to increase the value of this one. So let's try this, just this for now. So we'll see that we may have another problem, but very simple to resolve. So I just increment the value of this, of my index. Great. So let's have a look. I am here. Wrong, wrong. Yes, that's correct. Next question. So I'm going to click on this. Perfect. What is the capital of Japan? Extra, but it's like, sorry, wrong answer. Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense in telling me this because we have said that we display the answer block if user answer is equal to -1, right? But it's not equal to -1 because the user clicked already on it, right? So we need as well to set this value to -1 as well. So I'm going to do this dot user answer equal -1. I just give him this value again, right? So by doing this, I should be able, that's correct, next question, perfect. I'm here, no, no, yes, etc., etc. So that's not bad. So far, we start to be okay in terms of the logic of our application, right? I'm just going to add a few CSS elements to make it a little bit more user-friendly. So we want our button maybe to have some colors here. Okay. And maybe as well, I think, yeah, display flex for all the answer. Yeah, so all of my answer, I want them inside of this block to be separated and on the same line, right? Right, so I'm going to try this here. Remove this one. Paris, perfect. Next question. Okay, so now he's not happy because, well, we're going to explain this just now. Okay, great. So everything works, but you can see we have a problem. So I'm going to refresh my whole page here. All right, let's try. Okay, wrong answer, wrong answer. There's a bug somewhere. It's user answer -1. It should be hidden here. I don't know why. By default, bug somewhere here. It's really equal -1. User answer
is equal to -1. So it is hidden, it's true. Yeah. Something answer. No, it's not this user answer. -1. Yeah, should be good. I don't know why this one is displaying here. So answer hidden. Oh, that one is a true or false. There is something weird here. Hidden user answer. What? So one thing you can do to debug is to display what this expression is returning. Display this, right? So you can see we have a true, so it should definitely be hidden. Don't really understand why he's not taking it here. Okay, so just to make it work right now, because it's kind of weird, it's not taking it. The user answer is -1, it's really an object. User answer equal -1. It was working just before I modified this, right? False. It's false. Yeah, it's false because we modified it here, right? This one, -1, right? -1 here. So we have a true here. The hidden here is not taking it. If user answer equal -1, that should return true and it should be hidden. So why is not taking it? That's an answer here. So I'm just going to do a at if just to be sure that we don't have something weird. Okay, and removing this part here. This is not working. Am I on the right half here? No, it's fine. Oh no, it's okay. Yeah. No, okay. If not equal, of course. In this case, it's the opposite, obviously, right? Yeah, that's better. All right. Okay, that's better. But it's interesting because the hidden here should have worked as well. But I don't know. Let's continue with this one here. So the if here is actually more is different because this one will do a hidden, right? You will use the hidden property CSS, but this one is really not displaying the block in the DOM, right? So it's actually more appropriated. But the hidden should work. Okay, maybe we'll debug at the end if we have time. Okay, great. So I'm having this, everything works greatly, but we still have a problem, right? If we go here and say next question, okay, continuing, next question, okay, next question, okay, and then nothing happened, and plus you have some error displayed here, right? You're in the console. Obviously, because, well, you know why, because we're arriving to an index that do not exist for this. So instead of having this button, it would be better maybe to say, hey, I want to, yes, I want to restart the quiz, maybe. Yeah, so maybe we say that this guy here is that if we still have answer, and otherwise we'll just put a new button that say start the quiz again. Okay. So everything will be here. So I'm going to do an at if, okay, and some. So basically what we want to check if the active question answer is equal to the length -1, right? So the active question answer, okay, equal, not equal, sorry, not equal to question answers. Question answers, yeah. dot length, sorry, length. Okay. So the thing is that the active question answer is really 0, 1, 2. So if you have 0, 1, 2, it means you have 3 elements, right? So this is equal to 3, but this will be equal to 2 for the last one, right? So we need to do -1 here. It means that next question should not be displayed on our last question, right? So let's try this. Okay, great. Tokyo, France, Paris. Correct. Perfect. We don't have this button, so that's great. Now what we want instead is to create another button, right? So we're going to do @else here. Okay. And here I'm going to create another button here that is allow us to restart the quiz, right? Okay. Restart quiz. All right. Great. So now I need to create this one. Okay. So if we restart quiz, what do we need? Resetting the answer, but also resetting the active question answer, right? Because you want to go back to 0. So this active question answer equals 0. And also this user answer is equal to 0 as well. Okay, we don't have any error here, so let's have a look at this one. Okay, wrong, so this is work. This is Tokyo, great. This is Paris. Yes, that's correct. Restart the quiz. Okay, great. We go back here. Okay, user answer have to be -1. Yeah, -1. So we don't have the answer displayed at the beginning, right? Great. Okay, so very simple app. This is really to cover the basics, right, of Angular by showing you how to communicate between components and how a component interacts between his TypeScript file, his HTML, and with those new syntaxes @if, @else. Those ones are pretty new. It's probably since a year we use them. But you will see like the older syntax. Basically, the older syntax for this one will have been something like this. We will have a star here with ng4, and you will put it like this and use this variable here. And you can also use the index as well. This, we don't really use this one anymore because this one needs an import as well. You will see now is really this guy here, the @if, else, etc., etc. Great. I think that's the only thing that was pretty fast because I mean there is not a lot of people and yeah, no questions, so it's fine. If you guys, and if you have any question, please let me know, and I'm going to put that on Git, obviously, sending on the group. Okay, so we're going to end it here. Thank you for coming, and see you next time. Bye-bye.